Magic Without Fears Hermetic podcast. I'm your host, Frater RC. For more and exclusive episodes, visit magicwithoutfears.com. Thank you for your support.
The fifth day of Rudolf Steiner on the chemical wedding of Christian Rosenkreuz. This further development of natural alchemy becomes the work during the fifth day of the chemical wedding. The spiritual seeker's vision must penetrate the processes that nature causes as she produces growing life. The seeker of the spirit must lead this creative activity of nature into the forces of knowledge without allowing death to prevail in the transition from processes of growth to those of soul. The seeker receives the forces of knowledge from nature as dead entities. Then he or she must animate these by restoring all that nature withheld from them when it brought about their alchemical transmutation into forces of cognition. As we move toward this goal, a temptation approaches us. We must descend into the region where, through the force of love, nature charms life from what of its own nature strives toward death. Here the seeker is in danger of the vision being seized by those instincts that prevail in the lower regions of substances. One must learn to recognize how in matter, which bears the stamp of death, lives an element related to the love that underlies the renewal of life. The soul's exposure to temptation is strikingly described by Andrea when he makes Christian Rosenkreuz appear before Venus while Cupid plays his role. Quote, "The scales, which were entirely of gold, were hung up in the midst of the hall. There was also a little table covered with red velvet, and 7 weights placed thereon. Then the Virgin began to speak. Who into a painter's room does go, and nothing does of painting know, yet does in prating thereof pride it, shall be of all the world derided. Who into the artist's order goes, and thereunto was never chose, yet with pretense of skill does pride it, shall be of all the world derided. Who at a wedding does appear, and yet was ne'er intended there, yet does in coming highly pride it, shall be of all the world derided. Who now into this scale ascends, the weights not proving his fast friends, and that it bounces so does ride it, shall be of all the world derided." Here we are clearly shown how temptation does not stop the spiritual seeker from continuing on the path by his or her own soul forces alone, but also by the working of other powers. If Christian Rosenkreuz had to tread only his own path of knowledge, the latter could have ended with the temptation. The fact that this is not the case indicates Andrea's intention. On his spiritual path, Christian Rosenkreuz is meant to show the way from one epoch to the dawn of another. The active powers of the courses of time help him to permeate his I with the powers of knowledge suitable for the new period. Therefore, he can proceed on his journey to the tower by participating in the alchemical process through which the dead powers of cognition experience their resurrection. Thereby, he also possesses the power of listening to the siren's song of love, without falling victim to its seductions. There's nothing better here below than beauteous noble love, whereby we like to God do grow, and none to grief do move. Wherefore let's chant it to the King, that all the sea thereof may ring. We question, answer you, what was it that at first us made? 'Twas love.
Are you ready to meet the moment? Ozzy and our friends at Chevrolet are proud to present Real Talk, Real Change to help foster racial equality in America. And we're inviting you to help. Join me, Carlos Watson, as I talk with key leaders from across the country about racial disparities in America's healthcare system. Look for The Carlos Watson Show and Real Talk, Real Change on YouTube and subscribe. Or download The Carlos Watson Show wherever you get your podcasts.
The spiritual primeval force of love must work upon him, but he may not allow its manner of manifestation in the sense world to divert him from his way. The permeation of the dead cognitional forces with those impulses that in the ordinary human organism hold sway only in the process of growth occurs in the Tower of Olympus. Quote, "The Virgin, having placed herself upon the middlemost stone, made a short oration, that we should be constant to our engagement, and not repine at the pains we were hereafter to undergo, but be helpful in restoring the present buried royal persons to life again, and therefore without delay to rise up with her to make a journey to the Tower of Olympus, to fetch from thence medicines useful and necessary for this purpose." We are shown how Christian Rosenkreutz is allowed to take part in this event because his soul development is to proceed in accordance with the changing forces of the times. Instead of going to sleep, he goes into the garden, looks up at the starry heavens, and observes, quote, "Because I thus have a good opportunity to ponder astronomy, I discovered that on this night a conjunction of planets takes place such as is seldom seen."
Are you ready to meet the moment? Ozzy and our friends at Chevrolet are proud to present Real Talk, Real Change to help foster racial equality in America. And we're inviting you to help. Join me, Carlos Watson, as I talk with key leaders from across the country about racial disparities in America's healthcare system. Look for The Carlos Watson Show and Real Talk, Real Change on YouTube and subscribe. Or download The Carlos Watson Show wherever you get your podcasts.